But what we've discovered is actually something else. The moment you feel gratitude, your healing begins. The moment you feel worthy and abundant, you're generating wealth.
Hello, and welcome to the Pacific Channel, where we discuss the law of attraction, manifesting, energy healing, and more. I'm your host, Steve Doherty. In this video, Lewis Howe asked Dr. Joe Dispenza a question about money. The question is about how to attract more money, because a lot of people struggle to make enough or to attract enough. Dr. Joe answers by saying that we all have been programmed regarding our relationship with money. While they discuss this topic about money, it may be a good idea if you think about your relationship with money. Do you have a good one with it? What are your beliefs about it? Were you taught as a child that there never was enough? That it's hard to make money? Things like money doesn't grow on trees, or that money is the root of all evil, or the love of money is the root of all evil? Your money relationship may be on the rocks right now, but that's okay, because unlike personal relationships, money doesn't get angry or hold grudges and tell you that it never wants to see you again. If it was a sentient being, it would be a dog, because it would be very forgiving. You just have to make up with it and decide to unconditionally love it, and then it will come around. In other words, there is nothing wrong with loving money. You can do a lot of really good things with money, such as help out friends and family, donate to your favorite charity, and support other people and their families by buying products. And it's a good thing to spend money on expensive things you love. Get over the thought that it's not. Remember that whenever you buy anything, you support all of the people who made that product, all of the people who distributed that product, and all of the people who brought the product to your doorstep or your local store. When you feel good about money, when you get excited about what you can buy next, you aren't being overly materialistic. You are actually embracing your creative self and co-creating with others. Dr. Joe goes on to say that if you have had bad experiences in the past relative to money, then the emotion that most people live by is the feeling of lack. And when the body and mind are in the state of lack, then it starts to look for things in the external world to change, to remove the lackful feeling, and to instead feel abundant. Let's listen to Dr. Joe explain all of this now.
What is your thoughts around the identity of money and the psychology of how it plays in our lives? Because a lot of people want to make more, they want to attract more, but they're just struggling with just the concept of it.
Well, I think we've been programmed quite a bit with our relationship with money. I mean, we have a relationship with everything known in our environment. You have a relationship, a neurological network in your brain for your parents, for your cell phone, for your computer, where you live, where you've lived in the past, what you're going to do tomorrow. That for the most part, the brain is a reflection of everything that we know, right? So along with that is our relationship with money. And I feel like I have a really good relationship with money because I work on having a really good relationship with everything in my life. Right?
Did you always have a good relationship with money?
I think so. I think so. I've never really lived in lack. That just wasn't part of it. Even when I went to college and I had to take out student loans and stuff, I always figured out a way to always be a little bit ahead of the curve. And so let's back up and just look at how people form beliefs. Because most beliefs are created from past experiences, right? So children, when they're in their early ages, their brainwaves are very slow. Like their brainwaves are in alpha when they're like 7 to 12. They're in theta when they're like 2 to 6 years old, and they're in delta like when they're newborn to 2 years old. And so these brainwave states are states that were very suggestible to information.
So when we hear information, we believe it.
And we accept it, we believe it, we surrender to it as if it's the truth without analyzing it, because there's no analytical facilities yet.
Right.
The analytical mind starts around 12 or so, 7 to 12, and that analytical mind is actually what creates a barrier between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind.
So before 12, roughly, what we see how we model our parents' behavior,
It's
what
all
they say to us.
It's all being programmed subconsciously, right? And so that's really, really important, because if you heard money is the root of all evil, money is bad, only certain people are allowed to make money, you have to work hard to make money, this is how you got to do it, and that becomes the foundation subconsciously. That's like recording an audio file. You just keep recording that audio file, it becomes a subconscious program, right? So a lot of people have a relationship with money based on either what they've been told or what they've experienced in their outer environment, right? So then we gain information from our environment, and the stronger the emotion we feel from experiences in our lives, the more altered we feel inside of us, the more the brain freezes a frame and takes a picture. And that snapshot is called the memory. So,
based on an emotion.
Based on an emotion. The emotion alters our internal state. So you're going along as Lewis, feeling really good, and all of a sudden you have this trauma, you have this crisis, you have this shock, and all of a sudden you have this dramatic change in your internal state, and your senses get heightened, and then you freeze the frame and you associate this internal state with whatever it is that's causing it, right? And that's how we create long-term memories, right? So
Are painful memories more powerful, or beautiful memories more powerful?
they're both equal.
Okay.
They're both equal, but the problem is I think most people experience from more the negative emotions, right? And those negative emotions really are derived from the hormones of stress, right? So the alarm system, the emergency system, creates an arousal inwardly. And that arousal is saying there's something dangerous in your outer environment, right? And it could be a person, a circumstance, an accident, or whatever. And that change in emotional state causes you to remember the event. You got to pay attention, right? You got to stay really and narrow your focus on the cause. So think about people who have relationships with money, right, from the past. All beliefs are based on past experiences. So you have an experience where you lose money, you have an experience where money's taken away from you, you have an experience where you don't have enough, you're living in a place where there's not enough money, or a family that's not enough money. Then the emotion that most people are living by on a moment-to-moment basis is lack. Like, I'm in lack of having something that I want. Okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with that, because the experience changes your emotional state. You freeze the frame, you take a picture. The problem is, that's hardware. So we think neurologically within the circuits of that past experience, and we feel chemically within the boundaries of that emotion, which would say, for example, be lack, right? So now the person says...
before you go on to the next thing, what happens to the body and the mind when it is in an environment of lack? Mentally or physically, I'm in lack. What is the body and the mind saying?
Yeah, so the body is saying, I'm waiting for some external event to occur. I win the lottery. I marry the right guy. Whatever it is, that you're waiting for that event to occur. That experience produces an emotion. So the emotion then takes away the lack. And so when we play the game in three-dimensional reality, the creation game in three-dimensional reality, we experience separation from everyone or everything, because our senses fool us into the illusion, the hallucination of separation. I'm here and you're there. I'm here and the door is over there. So I'm aware that I'm here at one point of consciousness, and the door is over there, another point of consciousness. Okay, so in order for me to get from here to the door, I got to move my body and do something through space. I got to do something, and everything in this three-dimensional reality is going to take time and energy, right? So, okay, so then here's Lewis right here, and then he says, okay, I want this experience in my future, and your brain automatically predicts and projects how far in the future you think it's going to take.
Maybe it's a year, 5 years, 10 years.
30 years.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Because that's what it's going to take to pay off that house, right? So now, one point of consciousness, I'm here. The other point of consciousness is where I'm placing my dream. So I'm separate from that experience. So then how do I get to that experience? In three-dimensional reality, you got to get up and you got to do something. You got to go to work. You got to drive to work. It takes energy. You got to fill your car with gas. You got to eat food. You got to work. All this stuff. You got to sleep. You got to recover if there's stress. And now people are, in a sense, waiting for the experience that's 10 years down the road or 30 years down the road to happen. to take away the lack of them not having it. And unfortunately, many times when the experience finally occurs, they can't enjoy it because they're too exhausted, right?
Right.
So you play the game, you go to school, you study really hard, or you study on your own, you develop some skills, you make the right choices, you start saving money, you start learning from your mistakes, and then the game is how many things can you accumulate, and that accumulation then you associate with being wealthy or being abundant or being successful, right? And some people get really good at it, right? You can get really good at that. But for the most part though, when we create from three-dimensional reality, we're creating from lack and separation. In other words, you're driving down the road and you see someone driving a car that all of a sudden you realize that you don't have. The moment you become aware that that person has that car and you don't have it, you're in lack of having it, right? So what the brain naturally does is it naturally creates you driving that car. And you have an image of yourself driving that car and you start identifying, wow, that would be a greater experience for me to have. The problem is the distance between the thought of what you want and the experience of actually happening for most people is the concept called time. Right? Between cause and effect, right? So some people develop the ability to manage themselves and manage their life. They develop certain skills and they can pay for it and they can get it very quickly. The problem is when the novelty of that experience wears off, the car, and they're no longer identifying with that, and the feeling of emptiness and lack comes back.
They need to find something else.
They got to go
attach
find something else. And so there's this game that goes on where you never have enough, right? And that's the lack game, right? So then if you think about people having the things they want in their life, when they create from lack and separation, it's the experience in three-dimensional reality that produces the emotion, and the emotion is saying, let's feel and experience this thing that you've been in lack and separation from, and that emotion then takes away the lack or separation. But you've worked really hard to get it, okay? Nothing wrong with that. Is there another way to do it?
Yes.
Okay, so the person who's living in lack is waiting for their wealth to feel abundant. They're waiting for their success to feel empowered. They're waiting for their healing to feel gratitude. They're waiting for their new relationship to feel love. They're waiting for their mystical experience to feel awe. That's the Newtonian model of reality of cause and effect. Waiting for that event to happen to take away this separation or lack. Nothing wrong with it. It's the way most people create. But what we've discovered is actually something else. The moment you feel gratitude, your healing begins. The moment you feel worthy and abundant, you're generating wealth. The moment you're empowered, you are moving towards your success. The moment you're in love with yourself and you're in love with life, you'll create an equal. The moment you are in awe of life, you're going to have a mystical experience. And so that's causing an effect, right? So then if you can teach people then how to create, instead of from lack or separation, but create from wholeness, and create from what we call the quantum field instead of three-dimensional reality.
What's the difference?
Okay, so the way first of all, it takes knowledge, okay? The quantum field is an invisible field of energy that exists beyond our senses. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you can't hear it, you can't feel it. It exists beyond our experience of three-dimensional reality.
With this.
So Dr. Joe said that when we create from the three-dimensional reality, we're creating from lack and separation. Most people wait for their wealth to come to them to feel abundant, and most people wait for their healing to feel gratitude, he said. But that's not how it works. You must feel the feeling of gratitude before your healing can come, and you must feel the feeling of abundance before your wealth can come. The whole point is that, according to Dr. Joe, you must create from a place of wholeness from the quantum field, instead of the feeling of separation from our three-dimensional reality. But other attraction teachers would say that the key to attracting more money into your life is to get off of the subject of it, appreciate all of the things that are going right in your life, and give your relationship with money a little bit of a break. The problem with money is that it affects us all the time and in so many different ways. So it's not best to attempt to attack the problem head on because most of us have too many negative thoughts and feelings about the subject of money already. The problem is compounded by the fact that if you don't have enough money right now, then that will be on your mind more than almost anything else. And when some law of attraction teacher comes around and tells you to cheer up about money and it will magically come to you, you sort of want to smack them. The point is that if you were to give the subject of money a break, give that relationship a break, and conjure up the feeling of gratitude about anything else, then your vibration around the subject of money has a better opportunity to rise. It's sort of like how when you forget about a pain that you've been having, the body will heal it for you, and then you'll suddenly realize that it's gone. Facing problems head on is usually not the way to go when it comes to leveraging the power of the universe. Letting go, trusting the universe, and allowing for your abundance to flow to you is the best way to go. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and share it with anyone who you know might be interested in the topic of how to attract money. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day or night.
Christmas is coming and we would love to give back to our Pacific family. We are offering 2 lucky winners a ticket to Dr. Joe Dispenza's week-long retreat in Cartagena, Colombia, worth $2,300 each. To enter the giveaway, you must be a subscriber to our channel Pacific. Like this video, comment your manifestation goals for the year 2023, share this video with any 5 people, and stay tuned on our channel as we will declare the winner soon. Please refer to the description below for more info. Good luck!